Lali-Ho, free enterprise community. Thanks for joining us for this match in the round of 32. We have an exciting match for you, a race between Kohrek and jeebus. We have on our restream team today, Escorian doing tracking, be lighting up all the icons for us, and Gundam Pilot Spas doing the restream, the only reason you can see us right now. And I'm iClover in the virtual commentary booth, and I'm joined by Venerable. Welcome, Venerable. Excited for our race?
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a great one, Cloper. Kohrek does have the one game advantage, but if anyone can climb back from that, it is definitely Jeebus, one of the most technically proficient runners of the game today. Understands a lot of the nuances of how the combat system in this game actually works, and we'll hopefully be able to leverage that, and we'll be able to get a game 3 out of these two runners. Just both fantastic players of the game. And looking at the start, our random objectives, we have defeat Evil Wall and get Edge. Which one of those would you prefer to do?
So, I definitely would like to find Edge, but sometimes some of those character checks can just be really far out of the way and annoying to get done. So it might not happen if Edge happens to be hanging out on the giant. Well, then, and I run into the Evil Wall, I might take on the Evil Wall. It just really depends where he ends up, because Evil Wall can be one of those mean bosses, just depending on where you find it.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping for a nice, nasty Evil Wall that puts our runners to the test. But with our luck, it'll be an Antlion and it'll all be over with.
Yeah, just get done right at the start, especially
Yeah.
with that starting Sid. A fairly powerful character, at least in the early game. He just comes in with a big old pile of HP. Can equip a handful of the axes and hammers, which are pretty decent for that early game. So he might be able to get you through those first boss fights, whoever your secondary partner is here.
Oh yeah, like any axe, any hammer, even the bows. Like Sid kind of
That's
has a
true.
pretty good array of weaponry. I think we need to keep a close eye on that random grab bag starting kit and see if our runners get anything great for him. If so, we may see a relatively light looting spree in the early game, because if you can get that Sid online with literally anything, you're going to be able to clean up the overworld in pretty quick order.
Yep, definitely. Bows are a good equipment for him. Also give him in the back row. That large HP pool will last a long time in the back row against any punchy bosses. We do have a bit of a money problem this seed, though. So if you want to buy him a big stack of arrows, that might end up being tight, because you were talking about the random grab bag. There's also the random money bag. You can get as low as 20,000 gold all the way up to 80,000, something higher. But if you get on that low end, ooh man, money is tight in this flag set.
Yeah, and I know that this is probably confirmation bias talking, just based on what I've seen with the money kit, but I swear the 20,000s are a lot more common than those 60 and 70,000s. So, let's think
It's
some
random,
notable,
just 40 eye striking again, targeting you.
yeah, some
All
some
right.
notable early game purchases that I'd be on the lookout for this team. An Elven Bow is, if you are going the archery route, kind of like the primo thing you're going to find in the overworld. Best accuracy bonus versus mages. An Earth Hammer, if we don't find any black mages, is some pretty useful AoE against rude early fights. And of course, if you have a ton of money, hard to beat an Ogre Axe.
All right, and it looks like we're off here, so we'll get to see if that money kit's kind to us, or, well, our starting partners, Edward, he
Well,
brings something to the party.
61,000 gold, so tons of money. A
It,
heroin
it
robe.
can roll high.
Yeah. Any of the ladies will be a welcome addition to this team, being able to have all the strength and agility at the expense of their spellcasting.
Mhm. And
And
we
a
do
hook.
hook.
You got-
Yeah, always interesting to see the hook start there. Opens up an immediate character check if you're willing to commit that time to doing that early. If, say, you're not happy at this party, although Sid's a relatively good member, so you might be going all right. But that also does mean this is a potential hook route. We do have a way to get to the underground, so this might be the only one.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see a quick peek from either or both racers down there
Mhm.
to add a character to the team to check out what's for sale in that gated Eblin shop. Both the weapon and armor and the item shop. The item shop, the best in the game, the only one guaranteed to have 2 tier 5 items. And of course, the looting in the cave's not bad either. Pretty high percentage of good loot, and only one trap chest to avoid, unlike the castle.
Jeebus going ahead. Looks like both are launching the hovercraft. Jeebus taking a chance to check the waterfall cave first, and it looked like it was a guards fight there, so not interested in taking that. Or is that the officer fight?
Yeah, it was the officer +3, the Kaipo fight. So
Mhm.
one of those free bosses out of the pool, I guess by virtue of them all being in the pool for a change. But yeah, that's one that we don't get to just run into later in the game and have a free fight.
Yep, but definitely a good check to do just while you're parked in this area. See if that boss is there. We're looking for the evil wall, obviously, but demist, our bonus round, is also interesting to find. So while having a few bosses at large, it's good to just check those early boss spots when you get a chance.
Yeah, and both runners in lockstep, flying over here to Cave Eplin. They want that loot, they want that information, they want that party member.
Mhm.
Let's see what we get out of the cave today.
Yep, I imagine we'll be seeing some saves here because there is a single trap chest inside the cave here, which they probably don't feel too confident taking on at this point. So we'll probably see a reset on that.
Now, that Dragon Whip is pretty exciting. If we do find Aridia, typically not a very exciting character early game, but with a Dragon Whip and a Heroine Robe, forget Sid. Let's let the baby summoner be our DPS.
Yeah, no, she would have no problem with that very high level equipment. Jeebus, by the way, did run into the trap chest, so we know where that is. He's now avoiding it on a second run through. Sirens and coffins, as you said, 2 best item shop in the game, and it's paying off right away.
And I'll note that the this armor and weapon shop pretty loaded as well. Additional heroine robes here if you want to make the ladies get Zirkin. And that weapon shop, Full Moon, Ninja Blade, Lightsaber, Gungnir, all the top tier weaponry for Edge, Cecil, and Kane that you can buy is right there.
Even with the really generous money starting kit we got, though, you can't buy all of those things. You're going to have to pick and choose. And with both of them grabbing some sirens and coffins, equipment is probably looking a little out of reach, at least at this point.
Yeah. One convenient thing here for Jeebus, at least, is Jeebus did peek all 3 chests in that opening room. Kohrek didn't go all the way to the corner because that is a long walk for only 1 chest, but it was the monster's chest. So Jeebus now knows he can full loot the rest of this cave with impunity.
As he's doing as he walks through here. So definitely going to be a little bit of a time save there, not having to do saves and checks around and resets there. We did get to peek our boss here at the end of the hook route if we do have to do that. King Queen Evelyn. So we're not at least looking at a rude hook route if we do have to commit to this.
Yeah, I mean, oh, and a rune axe in the triple chest down here. That Sid will be online in a heartbeat too. So yeah, fantastic boss to see at the ruby spot, not threatening at all. Still plenty of rude things can be at the vanilla
That's
King
true.
Queen Evelyn spot, but that's great for our runners to see.
Yep, definitely. So unfortunately, no one yet to put on that heroine robe. We're finding Patlum here. Definitely good black mage, gets access to a lot of the powerful spells early, so can be nice having your party that way. But you'd like to be able to put some of that gear you found to use. So, but luckily the rune axe and Sid, that'll still get you through those starting fights without a brawl.
Oh yeah, and I believe that the cave actually contained not 1 but 2 dancing daggers, so Palom and Eddie can both be contributing from the get-go. Edward, of course, no spoon flag, so he'll have a little more niche utility in the long run on the seed, but Palom has some starting damage here as well before you get those tier 2 spells.
Yep, that'd be excellent. See, so yeah, I really don't imagine our runners will be too scared about anywhere on the overworld with this party. So really, it's just what do they value, and they'll just start taking it in that order, as they probably feel like they can take on any of those spots.
Oh yeah, another big thing too is just with how good the loot was in here, probably don't have to worry about picking up a whole lot more either. I can just play through the game and then build up to, you know, equipping the rest of the team down the road.
Yeah. So on this flag set, we are running with T-Pro. So the treasure, especially in some of these early, more required spots like the Antline Cave, just doesn't have that great stuff. So if you already did find good loot, the chance of just being able to skip by those chests at a very low chance of having good loot feels nice and really speeds you up on that early game. Small divergence here. It looks like Jeebus doing Antline Cave first, while Kohrek is going to go ahead and check another character here on Hobbs.
Yeah, gonna see a little bit of equipping going on, and although we found some pretty good heavy armor, not a whole lot on the light front, and that is a duplicate, not really, Palom. One of those big changes from Swiss to brackets.
Yeah, exactly. No duplicate characters this time. So when you see a duplicate like that, not worth committing that time because they are not going to be able to join your party. If you dismiss and want to pick him up later, I guess you know where he is. But again, probably at this point, we will not be seeing a return to hubs.
Yeah. One member of Chat Berserk now pointing out that the XP may be a nice bonus if they had taken that fight.
Sure.
You typically only get early game here, like Palom will get 1 level from this CPU fight, for instance, but gains 3 from the Hobbs fight. So it's a difference of Fire 2 versus Fire, Ice, and Lightning 2. Just kind of depends on what we run into at these other overworld spots, whether or not either racer will regret that choice.
As we've been noting, that very good amount of loot we got kind of at the start, it's probably not making the racers too worried about what they're going to run into. They probably feel like they can take it on, and so don't feel like they'll need the experience. So without the character being someone they valued, they're probably not going to value doing the time to go through the bus. As we can see, even CPU, who can in many spots be quite time-consuming, even if a somewhat safe fight for a lot of parties, no problems here, easily going through the 1000 HP.
Oh yeah, sometimes you regret it if you don't have a white mage to keep up with those 10% mazers that come out. But 830 on the big orb, these dancing daggers, the back row Sid with the rune axe. This is a great place to run into CPU with this team.
So Pan's always kind of an interesting find here when you have the hook, because you know you have your way underground. So do you want to continue to fade Fabul so you can do that single check there? Or you do the Fabul right now, the Fabul Gauntlet fight, so you can get the key item check, because maybe it's your magma key. It's not super likely, but there's a non-zero chance, as well as some early XP in that location.
Yeah, I think with this team, I am more likely to fade Fabul a little bit on the overworld, just because I know that Sid can get through most of Ordeals, can probably get me through Baron N. We know it's King Queen Evelyn at the second fight on the hook route, so the temptation's much stronger here than if I had a weaker team for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, again, it's kind of how much do you value that XP? If really you hadn't found any gear, getting that experience onto Palom so he could start learning those spells to get you through the fights, getting the level 2 elementals, and then hopefully even Virus and maybe Quake before you have to commit to that hook route would be much more appealing. But we have a strong enough party here, and probably not the rudest hook seed in front of us. Or hook run.
And here is another, well, this fight definitely easier at this spot than it would be at later ones. Got a Pain Man here, dishing out about 80 damage a wave. 3 waves, and the fight's over if you don't have the no free bosses flag. So, not punished for skipping Hobbs at all.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get the XP here on all 3 characters, as Edward was able to hide in time, and then just getting the life pod in between the 3rd wave and the Justice conversation.
So I don't think there was any significant, like, even if there is a magma key somewhere else here, this was not a problem at all. You didn't, commit to a fight that you couldn't win. It was over very quickly. It's not like a long drawn out Fabul where when you have that pan, you end up regretting it. So this is super clean for both runners.
And it's up rewarding the spoon, but as you're saying, hey, that was relatively fast. The XP is not going to be, it's appreciated, so that's fine. And hey, maybe we'll be happy to have that spoon later. We do have Pickup Edge on our list, so if we get him early and run into a rude boss somewhere later, just being able to get out quad 9's AC is always nice to have. Ooh.
And there is a big investment from Kohrek, going ahead and shelling out the 25,000 gold for the Curse Ring. With a Sid on the team, you know that you can anchor yourself, fix your agility, however you need it, slow or fast pretty much, for the entire seed. It's a huge price to pay, but I think it is worth it every time on this flag set.
Definitely, and just takes a huge kind of like mental load off. You just go, great, any fight I run into now, I know I have an ability to just do some agility anchoring. I don't have to worry about finding some of those harder fights in spots where, say, I really need to be fast or really need to be slow. You can do it all with this birdie now.
Yeah. Let's see if Jeebus makes that same purchase.
Definitely is checking the shop, so knows it exists.
Yeah, there was that moment of hesitation, like,
I read to the bottom of the list and start exiting out, and then it processed what he saw at the bottom of the list. I'm like, oh no, wait, I really do want that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Sid you can kind of make do in a lot of places with just a Dwarf Axe for the -5 agility, but the Dwarf Axe is actually really expensive as well, and the Cursed Ring just gets you there on so many characters.
Yeah, definitely. As well as we still have to find the Dwarf Axe, and so if you run into the Curse Ring first, grab that. That's what you found. Looks like continued shopping here. We'll check some more item shops. Getting some Cure 2s, getting a pile of life potions. There are Thor Rages for sale, but we were given 10 in the starting kit, so probably don't need more.
And Kohrek is opting to pursue Baron before Ordeals, sees a Vanilla Yang in the second slot and a Water Hag that is so strong it has knocked his stream offline.
The most
Uh,
powerful of all water hags. Hopefully it'll be less mean to Jeebus here, but we'll have to see. I'm sure we'll get Kohrek back in shortly, though. But Jeebus will be able to show us who this second boss is, because that water hag is not going to pose a problem.
no. It's actually a shockingly rude spot for Water Hag, though, because this spot only has
True.
400 HP, but you still have to hit the Water Hag 3 times, no matter how much damage you're doing.
Not scary, but yeah, this spot is now much slower than it would normally be. But yeah, so any 3 hits, we were talking about free bosses, as long as you have, the no free bosses flag on. Water Hag's one of them. We saw Dark Knight Cecil. You just hit this one 3 times. Any 3 hits, as long as they connect, ends the fight. Nice and easy. I guess not trusting there in Sid to connect, so using an item.
Well, the other nice thing too is that we don't get like the simple bomb item is probably one of the less useful of the tier 1 elemental ones, and inventory space is a concern here with how much looting our racers got to do early on, and the fact that everything sells for 0 gold. Freeing up those little spaces is kind of a big deal.
It's true. It's definitely easy to run out of inventory here, and there isn't the motivation to stop and sell everything early because you're not getting paid for it. The only reason you stop to sell is just to clear out inventory when you're in the shop.
And here's the Mylon Z to go with the Mylon and friends we saw on Hobbs. All the Earth Fiends, well, I guess except the Elements form, out of the pool now.
Yeah, definitely. So, this spot, more HP than the previous one, but still with the access to Fire spell, or Fire 2 spell in this case, to take advantage of that elemental weakness, should make quick work of this, and a Firebomb as well. If you also had that bow and arrow on Sid, you could be doing extra damage that way, but these will a few thousand points of damage when you have to get through 4,000 HP here. No problem.
Yeah, and it'd be a little more worrisome as well if Sid didn't have all that heavy armor. Like, this spot will one-punch both the Palom and the Eddie at this point, but
As
shouldn't
you say,
be difficult.
Eddie gets knocked down there.
Yeah, as illustrated. Thank you, Mylon Z. Right on time.
Very helpful. But yeah. Sid, though, is able to survive a hit there because, as you know, a lot of heavy armor will do that, so it's good to have found that early.
Yeah. And can kind of also battle through attrition here. A life pot for, like, Mylon Z's only killing 1 character per punch anyway at most, but 4,000 HP, down and done, and dusted. Let's see what that key item is. Do you like characters?
I do. I actually really do like characters, so great news. And, well, Kohrek's back, and we get to see who that character is. It looks like it's Atella behind the Sand Ruby.
Great addition to the team. If you don't want to anchor with your Sid because you need him for the physical DPS, well, Tella's got you covered. But also, if we go do Ordeals, he'll unlock nearly every spell in the game. Hard to beat Tella for early game utility on that front.
Yep. We do have still 2 of our bosses, some kind of the boss, hunt we have open available, and Ordeals does also have 3 bosses to get through to clear that spot, so that might be some motivation to want to do that before committing to Hook to get underground. As well as just keep in Mist Cave since we're in the neighborhood.
Oh yeah. Like you said earlier, Evil Wall or D-Mist, both good finds here, and if not, you at least know another enemy you don't have to deal with later. Gross.
Oh. That's a good one to not have to deal with later, at least if you're a runner. Could be fun to see sometimes as a commentator, but that was the ult gauntlet there. So pulls just a series of 5 fights from the area. That could be really interesting on various parts of the moon, but okay, it's out of the pool. We won't have to see it.
Yeah.
Jeebus here, happy to pick up his Tella as well. Again, maybe interested in a later anchor, as well as, hey, there's a fair amount of utility from Tella even before you go to Ordeals. The Blink spell, the Exit spell, those are both great Gear 2 if you haven't picked up those Gear 2 pots.
Oh yeah. Because we did see Jeebus purchase 1 exit door from the item shops in Troya, which kind of completely duplicated by Tella's suite of skills. So 2,000 gold down the drain, kinda, but it's still nice to have it handy if we had found a twin harp and needed to get out of Cave Magnus, and can also be nice later in the game for moon shenanigans.
Yeah, definitely. And Kanizo being our first boss here on Ordeals, so if you have access to any both ice and lightning elements can be useful getting through this fight. You are given a stack of Thor Rages too. If you're really concerned about his wave attack, you have ways to stop it. Probably not too concerned. He has good HP here on Sid and Tella, so.
Yeah. Kimetsu actually is a slightly annoying boss at this spot, just because this spot has both weak spell power and physical attack power. But Wave doesn't care. It only cares about Kenatsu's HP. But with this full team and the DPS it can put out, not much of an issue.
Yeah, so we did see the Lightning 2 there doing only 500. So Lightning is his weakness with Wave up, and Ice when Wave down for some reason.
No.
And jeebus, sure enough, coming up Ordeals as well. Interested in getting that Tell online, checking these 3 bosses, and finding which key items here. I find a lot of runners are usually kind of interested in check a lot of these key item checks before we do the hook route. Just in case a magnet key is waiting out here, it can save a lot of time to not have to do that.
Yeah, and Jeebus gaining a little bit of ground here. Had that tier 2 ice item of Boreas in his inventory, able to throw that for a quick 1200 on Kenatsu. So making up a little ground here, but notably has not looked at what that Yang is equipped yet. Get that Charm Claw off of this monk. He's not hitting anything with that thing equipped.
Yeah, definitely. One of the interesting side effects here of the Sea Neki flag, which gives a random item, tier 1, tier 3 as a weapon and no other armor, is you sometimes get that Charm Claw on Yang, which you just don't want to have on him as very low accuracy. So you're going to just swing and miss a lot of times here.
Remember that rune axe that our runners found in Cave Eblin?
That's a good axe. And I think it exploits the mage weakness, which Asura here happens to be a mage.
Absolutely. And one thing I also like to see here, Kohrek is very patiently using lifelock strategies. You can always burn 2 Star Veils here if you need to put wall up on her and keep her from healing. But also, if you time your attacks right, each time after she uses Life 1, you don't have to worry about her doing anything other than Life 1.
Yep, the face will just rotate right back to the gray face you see here, and the next spellcast will just be Life 1 again. And great. No healing, you'll eventually get through all the HP in that spot and not have to burn through those Star Veils. And especially if you kind of have everyone in your party able to do a decent amount of damage quickly, you don't mind just going ahead and waiting for the life gas to come out and then throw some damage out.
Now, Jeebus did have a slight timing issue there. A heal did come out. Asura went back up to full between some Cure 4s and some Cure 3s.
Sure. The thing, at least with Lifelock, is that it's just a time loss. It's not going to be, say, a resource loss. Like if you did your Star Veils and say you happen to run out of time, the Star Veil wore off and Asura full healed. Well, you've also burned your 2 Star Veils in a ton of time. So, a little bit of a time loss, but at least not the resource loss of Star Veils. Because especially with the hard to come by money, burning through your resources can be problematic in this flag set.
So Kohrek going to be the first one into the mirror chamber. Gonna get a look at this key item. I feel like a part of this is really rude if it is Magma Key. Okay, maybe
it's not.
Crystal Gauntlet, yay!
Yay! All right.
Value.
Sell it for some money. Oh no, not this time. Okay. So Crystal Gauntlet, not a key item, and currently no one can even put that on. So. Not the most useful one. D-Lunar's here. A generally not too rude of a boss. There's multiple ways to deal with that, but definitely going to be easy in this spot to get through before they get to the dreaded breath attack.
Yeah. The part that I was going to minorly whine about if it had been a Magma Key is, again, how many somewhat free bosses our runners have seen, and that would also have meant that King Queen Eblin was no longer on the menu.
True.
But it's nice to know they do get to have that lovely free boss at the end of the hook route. We're going to see some real fast hook routes here. It will not surprise me if these runners are underground at like the 30-minute mark on a hook seed, which is just blazing fast.
Yeah, definitely. That early looting and the relatively strong party just meant they've been able to crush through all these boss locations, even though, as you're knowing, some of those more free bosses haven't been ones they've been or showed up in the spots you'd like to see them in. Still really fast progress being made here by both the runners, and pretty much neck and neck. Just jeebus here taking on his D-Lunars, which should be no problem for him either, and then both will be heading down to their hook right around the same time.
Oh yeah, just that tiny little bit of difference. The Sura getting that one full heal off, but of course the Rune Axe tore right on through that fight and made up a little bit of time, but not. Yeah, neck and neck. It's gonna be wide open after the underground, and a lot. Sometimes you feel a little rough when like one racer does have a good like 5 to 10 minute advantage getting through a hook route. You're like, okay, you have to hope for divergence to see if for just to get that distinguishing aspect of the race in. But these runners are going to be so close together. It's still any way you go, it's going to swap back and forth over and over, I'm sure.
Yep. And now we've been saying it'll probably be a quick hooker out, but as Chad is pointing out, Inven, you might have come to your cursed here. We're going to just have to see what ends up being at the King Queen spot as opposed to the Ruby spot. There is still a chance of running into something kind of mean there.
That's true. I mean, there is that evil wall we're looking for, although we still have an Edward on the team. He helps immensely with that. Baigan is one of the worst ones there, just to have the 3 parts all attacking. So there's some nasty options, but again, you don't have to worry about the 25,000 HP at the second spot, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. That'll help a lot. The Curse Ring we do have access to also means we can agility anchor for either of these fights that we want to, and that will help a lot on getting through those. Even if it's a strong boss, if they say are only taking out 1 character per attack, and you have relative agility 1 on them, you're probably going to get out enough life pots to limp your way through the fight.
I will note another cheeky little distinguishing thing here between our 2 runners. Jeebus opting to pop one of those sirens on the top level of Ordeals to get a double Lilith fight. You can get them on the 3rd or the 4th floor up here. And getting a little bonus XP on the team, wanting that Palom to be a little more powerful. Maybe planning on not bothering with any trap chests for XP along this hook route.
Yeah, definitely. So we do already know where one of the trap chests is, but there's also the trap chests in the Tower of Babel portion, one of which is the Mad Ogre fight, which sometimes if you just don't have enough XP or maybe are also interested in doing some more looting, you'll see some runners take before going on and doing the hook route bosses. With access to Teleb, you do have a few ways of getting through that fight too. The size spell will make those Mad Ogres far less threatening than they normally are.
And of course, they are not only giants, they are mages. So again, this Rune Axe that did such good work on Ordeals for our runners will also carve them up pretty effectively. So I don't know, maybe they do both take it anyway. But that Siren usage still noteworthy, because choosing to take the 5,500 XP now versus the 34,000 from an Egg Underground, it's curious to see how that plays out, like you said, with the limited resources at your disposal on this flag set.
Now, in this case, we do know where the sirens are for sale. They are in Ebon Cave, so we can buy more if we need to, but we only have so much money until we start taking on those kind of endgame boss fights, or say doing grinding on the moon. So, yeah, limited resources. It might end up mattering.
Oh yeah, and here we go. Jeebus not hunting the trap chest, so running on past it while Kohrek's fighting it. Nice little sideways high five. Have fun at the end of the bridge. I'll see you underground. Of course, a nasty fight at the King Queen spot could send Jeebus back hunting for a little bonus XP.
Exactly, he might find he also wants to get that XP. Looks like we're just going to take advantage of that Rune Axe. He's, going to do good damage here against the Mad Ogres. So Teleb berserking up the Sid here, who is in the back row with some heavy armor on. So hopefully these punches against Sid won't be too painful.
Yeah. The big annoyance with the Rune Axe is that it does not have the really fantastic accuracy of the Ogre Axe. It's kind of the tier below in the same spot as the Poison Axe. So although Sid's doing ×4 damage per hit, you still have to land the hits before you get the big numbers here.
Yep. And we were talking about doing this fight as, getting the XP to get yourself ready for the next fight. It's unfortunate Sid's your only one getting the XP. You were probably hoping to get it on your Palom, maybe even Yang. Yang being the Punch Mage, more levels on him is really the main way to get into Punch Harder. And we find our boss here. It's the dolls.
Yeah, it's super free. About, well, I mean, they are going to hit pretty hard here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it definitely is somewhat free but they will hit hard, and if you didn't have a good way, say, to lock down the back row and form into the big dolls, we didn't have the best AoE damage, but luckily we did finish Ordeals, so Tella, having this full spell suite here, is able to just toad the back row dolls, and that means you have no risk, just kill the front row dolls, and you will not have to see the big doll.
Yeah, the transformation into Calbrina counts as a spell, and you are not casting spells if you are a frog.
We do at least have the virus spell, which is going to be a decent source of AoE, so just that one cast there in the AoE form takes all the front row dolls. This fight's not scary at this point. Toads are both, one, can't cast spells, so they will not be turned into the big doll. 2, don't punch hard, and 3, take extra damage, so this should be fine.
So one of the freest underground routes we've seen in a while, with some of the early loot in the cave, might have been able to have gotten through this the first pass through even. No one wanted to take that risk, and you cannot fault that. But that would have been an amazing, huge gamble if anyone had.
Yeah, especially because what we ended up seeing on the overworld doesn't look like it's going to be too important. The pan was probably the only interesting pickup, which we got from the Antline Cave, so we could have maybe faded all those other locations.
What, crystal gauntlets aren't like the most thrilling thing you've ever received?
I mean, now we have a reason to hunt down our paladin, so we can get those gauntlets and put to use. So sure enough here, Kohrek also going to be trying to take on these dolls. Look like he's dishing out AoE damage here with the firebomb. And I didn't see which spell he queued up on Tella, but fire 3, so just straight AoE. If you kill them all at the same time, you don't have to worry about them turning into a doll either. And with about 6,000 HP spread across those, you don't have to hit 2 of them.
Oh yeah. So a very clean fight.
Mm-hmm.
And jeebus here, of course, not going for the damage kill. It is true that if you take the king down, the queen will self-destruct on her next turn, but with 25,000 combined HP at the spot, and a very nicely anchored team, it's very likely faster. Don't interrupt them. Let them cast all the spells they want, burn themselves out, and just take your free win.
Yep, don't bother filling the queue with your own attacks, having to watch those animations. If you do not have the damage to kill the king, just take it easy. This is your chance. Go get a glass of water. You have a bit of time. Or just think about what you want to do for the rest of the seed.
And have a free 25,000 XP while you're at it.
Excellent. That would definitely help. And easy here to get onto all of our characters too, as a fight was not threatening. People were not going to get knocked down unless you went to do it yourself. Those 3 bosses really taking a toll on Kohrek's stream, though.
Yeah, and I will note a sub 30-minute hook route. And I'm sure Kohrek, once we do get his stream back, will be underground at roughly also sub 30 here as the king and queen burn themselves out. We see a lunar sparkle at the top of Lower Babel.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be that excited. How about you?
No, we've already faced just so far D-Lunar, so there's some pretty rude ones left, as well as you're probably hoping to find one of the bosses you'd be excited to see, your evil wall, so you at least know where it is, even though it might be a little annoying up there, or finding the D-Miss, so you can go ahead and take that for your bonus objective. But Lunar Sparkle, don't really probably want to do Keyless Tower. Maybe if I'm already have the tower key, so I have more reason to visit, I'll come back.
Yeah. We do see jeebus heading directly for Sylph Cave. We got that pan, so no big surprise there.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go ahead and get the check here from doing the bonk. Sylphs will immediately give us maybe a key item. And then 2 turns in from the Sheila. First, Sheila for finding Yang in the underground, and second for returning her pan to her.
And we do have Kohrek back, and based on that timer, I do believe that was also a sub 30-minute pitfall. Just jetty overworld, even for a hook route.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a feeling. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I've even seen magma key routes that end up taking longer than 30 minutes. So having to go through the hook route and still getting under another 30, very fast for the overworld.
And playing Whack-A-Monk gets the pass. So no hoofing it to Zeromus today, unless maybe your evil wall is in the depths of the lunar subterrane. We see Kohrek going ahead and taking advantage of the sirens and the coffins, taking his XP infusion now to power up that team.
Yep. As you know, jeebus already did one earlier, so he's probably a little less motivated to pick up some more XP now, or though, especially that XP, he didn't really get it from the Mad Ogre chest as only Sid stayed alive, so he really wants to probably get XP onto Palom and start being him towards the Quake spell.
So Sheila will give not one but two items. You get the one for checking on Yang, and then one for bonking that Yang. And aside from that, we do have Keyless Tower, which doesn't spark joy, a freebie in the Fey March along with two boss fights, and Dwarf Castle. So if Sheila unloads us some overworld gating items, we may see some good divergence coming up. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, definitely a lot of options out here. First one, though, Adamant, while not going to immediately lead us anywhere, is something we're definitely happy to see. Our first objective there, the Forge objective, requires both the Adamant and the Legend Sword to complete. So that's one half of objective 1. Speaking of half objectives, we have the hook. That's a half the objective for objective number 3, which takes the hook and the pigtail.
I would like to complain about her giving Earth and me thinking, Party Rock! No, it was an Earth Hammer. Earth Hammer.
Kohrek going ahead and doing trap chests in the Sylph Cave, which can be a good source of XP, especially if you're kind of trying to save those sirens. And find the ghost, which Quake gets through very quickly and gives him access to a Moonveil.
Yeah, having the right agility setup here means that a Quake kid can full clear any fight in here before the enemies get a real chance to act. So heads up play, not being scared to loot a little bit, and get that Moonveil. That can be a free fight at any number of nasty spots later. That's a great drop.
Yeah, definitely happy to have that in your inventory, and just you have to hope to remember to use it at those right boss fights. It's one of those items that can be easy to just sit there for a long time.
Oh yeah, the Mega Elixir conundrum. What if I need it for the next boss? What if I need it for the next boss?
The next game I might have it. I better just hold on this all the way to the end here. Final Fantasy V can make good use of this Moonveil.
And there is the evil wall in Dwarf Castle. Jeebus has eyes on an objective, but wants to prep a little bit more before heading into that fight.
Yep, just see what he has available here at the shop. Silk Webs, this can be nice. The ability to slow down some of the ruder bosses. But not picking up now. Again, money is somewhat tight in the seed, so you really have to be, really think about what you end up buying. And the inventory boss. So, as you noted, since we're not going to sell, since we get no money for doing that, we're not clearing out our inventory as often as we might be, so really easy just run into a full inventory. But at least when you hit that screen, you can take a little bit of extra time and just chuck away 8 items at once, as opposed to just throwing away the one new item you picked up.
Oh yeah, nothing more painful than throwing away 2 or 3, and then the seed goes on a little longer, and you keep getting, oh, there's another item drop from a boss, another item drop, and you just end up seeing that screen several times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the key item I want. I have no space for it. Let's see that screen again. But yeah, definitely nice to run into Evil Wall here, be able to complete the objective.
Yeah, a little rude. So Jeebus opting to go ahead and get a little more XP on the team. Kohrek already burned a siren and fought those ghosts, so has a little more levels. But your only source of white magic dying turn 1, a little scary, because we didn't see a whole lot of light armor for the rest of this team. I think only Sid is really well equipped at this point.
Yeah, might have been hoping to be able to get some blinks out from that Tella to make sure, your source of damage. Palom here with the Quake probably going to be doing a significant source of that. Make sure he was safe. He doesn't die to one hit, so that is good. So there's maybe the opportunity to just throw some Cure 2s on him, keep him alive, just life him every time he gets knocked down. But yeah, being able to do a few thousand points of damage there with Quake will be very valuable to get through this fight.
And we see a second egg from Jeebus.
Definitely wants to make sure he has these levels to get through at least the Evil Wall. You might also be thinking about, hey, when I get into the Fey March, maybe I'll take on some of those bosses depending on how rude they are, if I have these extra levels already done up front.
I will note that this fight might also actually be a little trickier. We talked about how nice it is to be able to properly anchor your team, but I'm going to pull this up right quick. The Calbrena spot, what is the... Oh, okay. This spot's base agility is 11. So
That's
anchoring...
quite low for this point in the game.
Yeah, so this is one of those spots where anchoring with the curse ring is making this wall a lot more dangerous than it would otherwise be if you had a speedier character there.
Sure. It is an interesting choice, though, because the very next fight actually has a somewhat higher agility, I think up at mid-20s. And if you don't know who that boss is, and if it's a scary one, maybe Blarg, the Wyvern spot, and you didn't agility anchor because you want this one to be easier, you might set yourself up for a wipe in that second fight. So it's even knowing that information, it can be a tough choice to decide on how you want to anchor.
Oh yeah, but Kohrek does make it through one Sid and a Dream. Light number 4 up, but you did mention nasty fights at the second spot. Have you done a little commentator's cursing for us?
Maybe, but kind of the nice thing about running into Golbez here is you already have most of your characters down, so no one's going to have to get devoured. So somewhat slow, but if you can get that Star Veil off, he's totally safe for the fight.
Oh, and the spell power is super low here.
Oh.
Even that opening virus will only do a couple hundred damage.
And
the main annoyance here,
the right character to be alive here to be able to survive that.
The main annoyance, I think, is that if Sid did fully get that Starveil queued up, the hold gas means that one just went in the trash can.
So got consumed by something, not too clear, but yeah, that one's gone for now. So, and again, resources can be tight here. It's hard to get money in the early game, and Starveils are not that cheap.
No.
But yeah, with only a few hundred points of damage here, without the Starveil up, you should be able to get the second one up and then be safe.
Yeah, the virus not even doing 200, a measly 116. Starveil's up, but Sid, I think you're gonna have to do most of the work here. Golbez ain't helping you out that much this time.
Yeah, exactly. So the downside to very low magic power is, well, he's not also going to be able to take himself out that quickly. Luckily, though, this spot has relatively low HP for this part of the game, only 4,000 to get through. So, 3,000 actually. Quite straightforward spot. So with Sid helping Golbez out here, we should see the spot get taken out before that Star Veil wears out and Sid becomes at risk again.
The funny thing is that jeebus here is having a much smoother evil wall fight, but as you said, that's going to make things a little more awkward in the Golbez fight. Just because you don't know who's going to be eaten here. Everyone does have above 200 HP, so everyone should be fine for the opening virus.
Yeah, it can be a little tricky just depending on who ends up getting hit by that virus and who ends up getting their turn first. So you might be able to get the Star Veil queued up, but still get with enough HP to survive the virus. You shouldn't end up having to get a wipe there. You might get one of your characters taken out, but likely not both. But jeebus can go ahead and use his first few turns here to control who will stay alive into this second fight. And I think finally recognizing he had that Charm Claw on Yang. Now that is a key item right there. The Twin Harp.
So a 100% required Dwarf Castle. You have to come here. 2 different objectives gated by it.
Yep, definitely. So I don't think most people are probably aware, but if you haven't been following, we do have 5 objectives listed there, but you actually only have to do 4, which sometimes means you get to fade one of them. If it turns out one location, though, covers 2 of them, that location is now required. So Dwarf Castle are required here, giving both the Evil Wall and access to number 2 there, Complete Cave Magnus. Luckily, though, both our runners came here pretty early.
And I will note that Kohrek did the Bonka Monk, but has not gone to Sheila yet. And this is actually going to pay out really nicely for him, because as long as there's nothing tempting down here in the Fey March that he wants to fight, you get to walk on all these damage tiles, go to your Sheila turn-in, and go to Twin Harp, where you have a scripted fight into a full heal. Doesn't matter how many damage tiles you walked on here underground.
Yep. It's very nice, actually, when you can just line up the Twin Harp straight into the... Oh, I only have 1 HP on most of my characters, so any of those who didn't get, just say, locked down by the magnetic effect, any attack on them will just take them out. Or you can always just let the Dark Elf knock them down with his first cast, although it's a somewhat slower animation. It's nice if you can avoid it.
There we go. Jeebus through the fight as well.
Mm-hmm. And we'll find out the good news here of his Twin Harp, and So a second objective ready for him to take whenever he feels like it. Though a big chunk of his damage is coming from Palam, who will not be able to really dish out too much damage against the Twin Heart boss.
Oh, and the Fame Arch having a free curse ring. Sorry you spent that 25,000 to go through some easy bosses on the hook route. Here, have a bonus one in case you need it.
Oh, if you end up dismissing the person wearing it and forgetting to take it back, it's good to have a backup. So, all right, I'll take a second one anytime they're available.
Yep. And here we see Kohrek doing the other avenue for inventory cleanup. Yes, they sell for 0, but it's a very convenient menu. You basically get to delete as many items as you need to at once. You have a nice wide screen to see more of them at a time. So both really great ways of cleaning up your inventory. We're going to see a lot of these two in these closing stages of the tournament.
And the free item in Fate March is a very interesting one. That's the Darkness Crystal, which gets us access to the moon, gets us access to the giant. The moon has many boss fights that are fighting potential key items. And we still do have some key items at large that we would like to find. The Legend Sword being one, and the Pinktail being another.
And speaking of bait, I'm not sure. Okay, we do have hourglasses. We have 2 hourglasses and a coffin. So this fight is free for Kohrek, but that D-Mist is subtly nasty. The simple fact that this team will take a long time to fight that fight, and you may be getting 2 key items as your reward, but how long is it going to take you to do so?
Yeah, especially with the mist forms mixed in there. There's parts of that fight where you just need to sit there and wait, so you're not doing DPS. If you're hoping to, say, get some Berserk to get damage coming out faster from, say, Sid or maybe a somewhat higher level Yang, Berserk's usually not the best choice in a D-Mist fight unless you can get it out before that first mist phase. But Guards is a much nicer fight. No problem taking that one on right now with access to those hourglasses that were for sale right here in the Fame March and Coffins.
Yeah, sad though. Cursed Tella whiffing the Zerk. These two are mages, so that Runax Sid will do a decent job of cleaning up the remaining one, if you can ever land the spell. That's the Tella life.
Yeah, I mean, downside to being cursed is your spells are not going to connect as often, but especially at this spot, which, very high level spots with very high agility, you're not going to probably have high agility otherwise. Jeebus on theirs, though, doing something very interesting here.
Oh yeah, it's Twin Heart time, y'all. Enjoy the music, but at the same time, keep your eyes on whatever reward Kohrek gets from this fight. We'll be back with y'all in just a second.
And Jeebus there making it through our harp location to Donkey Kong Country 2 music. Very nice on the harp. And completing Cape Magnus to get Mursame. So not the key item, but hey, an objective lit up.
Yeah, and also we do have that Get Edge, who may actually just be
Ooh.
at the Lunar Dais spot for all we know. Could be a freebie on the moon, and having the gear to get him online when you pick him up will save you a trip back to, let's see, it was Eblin Cave, I believe, that sold his other good weapons.
Yep. Kohrek did finish the guards fight and was awarded a Magma Key. So we have underground access. Oh, okay. Well, it is a key item. And so every key item you find up to your first 10 is very valuable because once you hit 10 key items, you start being awarded double experience for any fight you win. So
Yeah.
some amount of value, even though it's not giving you access to any new locations.
That being said, you frequently like to have 10 key items before you commit to the moon earnestly. I don't think our runners are going to be afforded that luxury. At this point, the only check we've not seen up in the booth that I think is reasonable is the keyless tower dive, and we're only sitting at 7 key items, so it's not likely to get us up to 10. And with both the Leviathan spot and that Demus there, I think any racer who takes that is relying on that to completely seal the deal. You will fall so far behind in other key item checks if you commit to that before going moon.
Yeah, definitely. So it does look like we might have to do Moon here without the 10 key items, which makes any grinding you want to do to be strong enough to take on the Moon bosses look less appealing, because you're only getting 1x experience where you really would like to get 2x if you could. But hey, we can go up and check the Moon bosses. The downside is, as you were kind of noting right around the beginning of the seed, we're really running out of the freebie bosses. So if you just go and check hoping to get some easy bosses on the Moon so you can get your 10 key items there, that might be hard.
Yeah, I believe the last hourglass vulnerable one. Well, I believe there are kind of two. There is still the Dark Imps. They're in play. And the second phase of the Dark Elf fight, when it turns into the Dark Dragon. Beyond that, though, lots of nastiness still out there. We've not seen Val. We've not seen Ruby. Just those two alone make me think, ugh, this moon, though.
But, it's not rude. Round 2 of music.
Oh, heck yeah. Encore, Maestro. Let's play it.
And an excellent second round of that music. While it looks like our runners are just treading each other's ground here, Kohrek going ahead and finishing off Cape Magnus here. Jeebus goes into Fey March, finds his Darkness Crystal, and also decides to take on the guards, who really do not pose him much of a problem, and he gets his Magma Key as well.
So we had roughly, a 1 minute difference between our runners falling down the pitfall. And it will not shock me at all if we are about to see a very similar difference between the two of them launching the well. Jeebus, though, does want to do a little more shopping first. We did see those sirens here down in Cave Eblin.
Yeah, definitely these levels, depending on which bosses you have to fight on the moon, might not be leaving you feeling too comfortable. So you want to have access to sirens, or maybe even you'll just wait until you go ahead and hit those 10 key items and then get some more grind done just to get your Zeromus levels.
Yeah. And while I was enjoying the jams a little bit, I did miss. Did Jeebus pick up any additional Hourglass 2s from that Faymart shop?
I'm not sure. He definitely had the one for the fight. I did not see how many he picked up in total.
Gotcha.
Well, see here, because those definitely valuable. Again, there's the one fight left to take with the hourglasses, and they can be good for some of the grind fights as well. Gold dragons, much easier with that hourglass.
Awesome. Chat confirming it for us. Notably, our tracker, by the way. Shoutouts to Ascorian, taking care of the tracking tonight, and GPS handling the restream. But yeah, confirming Jeebus has extra hourglasses here, and gold dragons are a very lucrative way to pad your wallet and pad your XP totals. And with a little bit of timing, it's not so hard to get a double life glitch on them for 240, well, pardon me, we don't have 10 key items, 120,000 XP and 92,000 gold. Won't surprise me if we see a couple of those before committing to a full clear of the moon here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this party also makes it quite easy to get that timing there. The access to the weak spell on Tella means you can go ahead and bring him right down to a low level, and then an Ice 2 makes that timing fairly easy. Not guaranteed, but definitely easier to hit.
Yeah. And Awaken Smoke asking in chat, what have I missed? It doesn't matter. We're 52 minutes in, and our racers are about 10 seconds apart. So.
Yep, that was as close of a in-sync Lunar Whale launch as I've seen in one of these races. So yeah, really completely tied all the way up here. Pretty much done all the same things, pretty similarly equipped, very similar levels. Really close race, 52 minutes in. Kind of just shows just how good both these runners are.
And Jeebus here running right in is implying to me that he may not intend to stay here in the main palace. We did see Kohrek rest up, making sure this party is at full health first. Now, I will note, there is no slingshot experience on this flag set. You're not going to get double XP for Cecil being these kind of levels behind, but I have a feeling that our runners don't really mind that right now.
Yeah, he's definitely a very good character as you like picking up. Unfortunately, we just haven't found great gear for him yet. There's a lot of really powerful equipment he can use, but we just, other than the Crystal Gauntlet, we did find that.
Oh, those Crystal Gauntlets, so good.
But really what you want to find is one of those really strong weapons for him. Him being able to use some of the strongest weapon in the game, the Crystal Sword, or even falling back the Excalibur, the second strongest weapon in the game, is easily something that can carry you through many, many fights. The Avenger Sword being another really good item he can equip. He can steal the Rune Axe from Sid. I think Jeebus put on the Fire Sword, a Slumber Sword. There was not the top tier weaponry you want to see for your Paladin.
Well, I think one of the expectations we may have here is that, so one of the differences also between Swiss and Brackets flags is we shifted from Objective Forge to Classic Forge, which means K'Kul does not give an Excal. However, the Excal is shuffled into the main key item pool. So even though you don't get one guaranteed for foraging, there's a decent chance you find it while you're making your other key item checks. And I'm sure that's one thing that both our runners are hoping comes to pass tonight.
Yeah, definitely. While your Paladin might not help you get through some of these harder boss fights on the moon, if he at least is fully equipped by the time you have to take on Z, you'll be happy to have him in your party. And all that feeling, I think it was a lightsaber, at least in Eblin Cave, that weapon shop was pretty stacked. So there's something we can get onto him if we haven't found anything by the end of the game and made some money. Because you're noting the grinding in the moon, boss fights on the moon, that finally is your source of money at this on this flight set.
Yeah. Mom Bomb here in Cave Bahamut will punch fast and punch real hard. So will not surprise me to see probably some grinding here first. Softon in the chat asking, why is that classic? That is because before the current objective system was added at Free Enterprise, originally there were only a few modes. The first main public version of it, the crystal was just a key item in the pool. Shortly after that, in time for Zima Zone 2, Forge, the crystal was added, where the Legend Adamant would actually give you the crystal. The Excal was shuffled to the main part of the pool. Classic Forge gives you the crystal outright. And so because of that, Classic Forge still remains. It's just purely an objective. The Excal gets shuffled. It's not your actual reward for doing the Forge.
And we were talking here about doing a Gold Dragon fight, which we see both our runners take pretty much at the same time. And I don't believe jeebus hit the double life potion. And I think Kohrek missed it as well. So all possible here. I don't think our runners hit it. Still, good source of XP anyway.
27 levels on a Cecil. That'll bring him not quite up to snuff with the rest of the team, but he'll get there soon.
Yeah. And levels also are really good to get on Yang. He doesn't really get strength in much other ways. There's a small amount of equipment you can find for him to get him stronger, but really his power level starts going up as you gain him levels. So getting some of these grinds on means Yang might be able to actually help dish out some damage to get through whoever we end up finding on the moon, which could end up still being some pretty rude boss fights.
And jeebus here making a couple of decisions about how he wants to manage his team going forward. It looks like Sid is now on anchor duty, slowing down to let the rest of the party go faster.
Yep, leaves that Tele free to get turns quickly, so he can throw out all that utility he has, and much more likely to connect with those utility. The Berserks will connect easier, as well as some bosses that can say get hit by things like Toad or other of his negative status effects, easier to connect with those as well. Or say this weak cast.
Now, I will note that it'll be a little trickier to get a double life glitch here than it would be at some places because of how the queue order works, Palom being near the end of it, and no one being alive after him. But any life glitch is a good life glitch against Gold Dragons, so eking out a little more XP.
Yep, definitely. And I think both our runners picked up a few sirens, so they'll be able to do both some grinding now, and then even if they wanted to say get just a few more levels once they have 10 key items, as long as they have that one siren left. Ooh, that's a fight.
Okay.
So that's Wyvern. He likes to greet people he meets with a mega nuke, which does a ton of damage.
And that's why we are known to set our clocks back about as far as we can. Kohrek turning that battle speed down to number 5 here, wanting to make sure he gets these Star Veils up and reflect that right back in Wyvern's face.
Now, I did see Sid get his turn first. Is he here? Is he the Jody Anchor? Is that a Curse Ring, but still at a Jody exactly 0?
Yeah, he's at exactly 0, so the game's not quite sure what to do with it. And the safety thing, rather than dividing by 0, just sets everyone to RA1. You're all RA1, have a good time, go fast, y'all.
There you go. Which does, sure enough, let him get multiple of those Star Veils off, so he's able to keep multiple people alive, which is a very nice thing to have multiple people alive, going into the second phase of the Wyvern fight, where he'll just start reflecting nukes off of himself. So those walls aren't going to help you anymore. But a reflected nuke hits just one character, so as long as you can just keep chucking out life potions, you should be able to get through the fight.
Yeah, I will note that this team doesn't have a good setup for this fight. When you're fighting Wyvern at a spot with this much HP, you're really hoping to have some kind of anti-dragon weapon. You're hoping to have a Rydia who can cast extra summons to make the Wyvern reflect more Mega Nukes on its face. And we don't have any of that right now. So this is going to be far more a battle of attrition and far less a kill the dragon kind of fight.
Yeah, exactly. You can see both Cecil and Yang berserked up here and hitting to 5 to 600. So Cecil did connect for 1,000 one time with the Rune Axe, but again, that accuracy just means he has a huge range here of damage. You have over 40,000 HP to get through here. That's going to be a lot of swings there and a few quick casts.
Yeah, and jeebus meanwhile finds Wyvern's much chiller. Bahamut has some. Wyvern has no chill. Bahamut has a little bit of chill.
Oh,
so this is gonna be a much easier fight to manage up here at Peldim Altar.
Yeah, greets you with a nice countdown before the Mega Nuke. Gives you as much time as you need to go ahead and get those Star Veils up. And then even if that first Mega Nuke doesn't wipe you out, you'll just go ahead and do it again, so you don't have to worry about a second phase of nuke casts coming out.
Yeah, and Technoleak asking in chat, what's the HP here? That Wyvern will have 42,000. HD Lunar has 21,000, so the majority of bosses here just have that sum total of 42k.
Wyvern did cast Wall on itself here, but Quake is still able to connect through. Quake happens to pierce through walls, and despite the fact Wyvern having wings, isn't actually flying.
And I'll note that Sid there actually surviving one of those reflected nukes from Wyvern. The reflected nukes that Wyvern throws out have varying spell powers, and so it's not unreasonable for these heavy hitters to actually survive one or two.
Yeah, very nice, which then, hey, in that kind of battle of attrition, I'm not sure how many life potions you have. If you didn't buy any extra, you don't have that many, so you could really run out. So being able to survive one of those casts is really going to help you out. Again, resources will be tight. Although chat saying Kohrek got 40. 40 should be enough.
Yeah, Kohrek explicitly hunted life potions before chasing the hug route.
Yeah, definitely, it can be one of those very valuable finds. They're not too pricey either, so what we kind of talked about, having to watch your money. Ooh, good find here from Jeebus.
That is huge. One of the big reasons this is huge is that Jeebus now, although hasn't gone out and lit it up, effectively has objective number 1 complete. This means that any key item down here in the moon that yields a character check, the package, the Baron Key, the Earth Crystal, any of those, if Jeebus feels frisky, feels lucky, can go just chase that outright right now as soon as he gets it. Whereas Kohrek may feel a little more compelled to try to clean up multiple objectives on this one trip to the lunar subterranean.
Yep, exactly. Speaking of our trackers actually pointing out, there is a character check who's available right now, which is the Giant. That's a pretty decent time commitment, though. While it will get you also a big pile of experience, so you might be done with your grind, can see feeling maybe a little too risky for our runners who really haven't made any, obvious kind of fumbles at this point, so they're probably not feeling terribly behind, and thus would like to go for the more, standard play here. Let's just keep checking key items.
Yeah.
Speaking of key items, Kohrek. That's a whiff.
Yeah. Crystal Ring is pretty good in the it's great magic evade, great at magic defense, big agility bonus, some cool status resistances, but it is not getting you closer to finishing this seed.
Yeah, exactly. You really were hoping to find either of those key items to give you more character checks, or just the Pink Tail or Legend Sword itself, which are direct objective completions. So, as well as just an Elven Bow, which isn't even all that impressive a gear at this point in time.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if, given... Well, that's a free fight. There we go. That's a much speedier one.
Yeah, much faster one to get through. Well, it's could be a bit harder if you did not have access to a Paladin. If you do, this has a special script where if Paladin goes ahead and swings after the second kick, Karate Man thinks that hurts, he'll say ouch, and decide the fight's over.
Yeah, notably, if we did not have that Paladin Cecil on the Lunar Dais, this would not be nearly so generous. We see how hard those hits are coming out. The only white mage on the team being Tella. Very thankful to have that Paladin script here.
Yep, definitely. As well as good we did a few grinds, because if he was still level 1, he probably would not be surviving even those kicks or punches to be able to hit back. And as you're noting, the Excal has gone into the key item pool. There it is.
That's a fantastic item to have for that Wyvern fight. Jeebus may be catching up a couple minutes here by virtue of doing this fight first.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty common to go ahead and check the Riven Rune first. If that boss is free, you get through it quickly, you get some more XP, you get the 2 key items. But going ahead and doing this is going to work really nice for Jeebus, because having that Excal means the Paladin will be swinging much, much harder, and that's probably a good way to get damage out in that Wyvern fight.
Yeah. I'll note that I think the determining factor that made Jeebus do this is the fact that the Legend Sword back up at the Peldim altar put him at 9 key items. So it's so nice to get your 10th from this low XP, 30,000 XP boss fight, and then wheel those 10 key items into the 100,000 XP boss fight at the Ribbon Altar. Of course, not getting rewarded with double XP from this upcoming fight, but is rewarded with a Cecil who is ready to do some work.
Yeah, sure. Now going ahead and checking out the Ribbon Room, and we'll be, definitely happy to have that Excel in Cecil's hands. And we find Mega Sisters down at the Ogopogo spot.
Did jeebus save after that, though?
I think we'll find out in a second.
Don't think he did. I think we're about to see another... No?
Oh.
Just ignoring it.
Okay. If he did save, he maybe is just choosing to do Wyvern after. Again, maybe he was just, if that fight was free, was hoping to go ahead and do the do it. But if it's not, Wyvern is not terribly free, do this and get that XP reward.
I will say I love Kohrek's cursed Sid swinging for 3,000 a pop on these Mega Sisters with that Rune Axe. That is a thing of beauty.
Definitely. So this is another mage enemy, so that Rune Axe really just doing a ton of damage. Cindy will cast Wall, but again, Quake pierces Wall, and also hitting all of the Mega Sisters like there. The HP is split across them, just really doing overall great damage levels.
By the way, absolutely massive magic attack at this spot, by the way. Even Fire 2 is doing around 3,000 damage.
You see the slight difference between a curse and non-curse Sid here, with jeebus' Sid swinging for 5,000 a pop, so he'll definitely make quick work of this. Ooh, a package. That's one of those interesting finds you noted, because that is a character check.
And the nice thing about that one is that it's a character check that shows you the character immediately. Baron, you have to go through 2 bosses and some cutscenes. Tower of Zot, you have to go through at least 1 boss, and then you get a cutscene to see the next 2 characters. So that's one that I think will definitely motivate a quick save scum from jeebus, just because that can be go mode.
Yeah, definitely. Kohrek here going to probably swing over and just continue as you were saying. Clear out as much of the moon while he's up here, because he doesn't feel nearly as close here to being done, since he hasn't found that legend sword yet. So not as interested in following up on that package immediately, because that would not put him in go mode.
Yep. And I'm wondering if at some point jeebus reflected a blink onto Cindy, or if Sid just had some really bad accuracy issues with a couple of those swings.
Definitely is possible. So Cindy will cast Wall on herself the first time, and she's happy to cast Wall again her second time her turn comes up, which means it gets reflected back onto your party and might hit your Blink target, or your Berserk target, or whoever you were trying to hit with your own nice spells.
And chat confirming it. Thank you so much, chat. Always got us covered here in the booth.
And we'll see here if jeebus does immediately follow up on this package, or heads on over to the Crystal Altar as well to find Ruby.
So the nice thing about this spot is that he'll hit hard, but his Fire 2 counters and his glares are pretty much negligible. Not really any difficulty on that on the magic front at this spot. Mega Nuke's so strong, they made Wyvern have kind of piddly magic power.
Yeah, very good. There is a punch Ruby can throw out, but he doesn't do them too often. So, and jeebus does seem like he's interested in following up on this the package.
Oh yeah, just the simple fact that you get to see the character before you sit through cutscene is
or say 2 somewhat challenging boss fights in the Giant. Yeah, this one you check right now. Yeah, even flying the Lunar Whale over here. So.
Well, it's so nice too, because if it is the edge that he seeks, the Crumble will actually move the Enterprise here for him.
True. Really saving time there. And who is it though?
Oh, that's kind of gross.
Yeah, so Fu. You love Fu. He's a great character. You're always happy to have him in your party, but you really just can't afford to commit that time to picking him up, because you have to watch through the cutscene just to get the mist destroyed. Then you have to watch the cutscene to actually rest at Kaipo, and then you do a very short boss fight. That's a lot of time. So
it does make me happy though to see this level of play where our runners see a Fu and they say, no. You thought fading the Troya Treasury was juicy. Fading a Fusoya, that's up there. That's Moxie.
I do miss not getting to see him in battle, as he is a very appropriately named Mop, as that what that character is. So we will miss out on that part. jeebus still haven't taken on the Wyvern, so he'll come back and do this spot now.
Yeah, and notably, I'm guessing he has no intention of letting the Cecil get Starvilled. Probably plans to pick him up and get him zerking with that X-Gal as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely. has queued up 1 wall cast and 2 star veils, so if those all get off, he'll still have 3 characters up. Yeah, and just a fight command here with the Cecil, so doesn't even want to risk trying to get the star veil off, but that command, oh, it does get off, okay.
And thank you to our tracker, Ascorian, has eyes on Kohrek while our restreamer gets the feed back live for y'all. We know there is a rat tail, so hopefully, Ascorian, if you still have eyes on that, please let us know if and when Kohrek turns that in, and hopefully we'll have the live feed for y'all again soon.
Yeah. So rat tail is a chain that just immediately rewards you with another key item, and again, we still are on the hunt for some key items. Kohrek looking for Legend Sword still, as well as the pink tail. We know the Legend Sword isn't behind the rat tail, but the pink tail could be there.
And here we go. Kohrek is heading to that Peldim altar. We know he will be rewarded with that that Legend Sword. Will also just be 1 item or 1 character away from go mode.
Yeah. Finding this Legend Sword, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go ahead and make a save here up on the moon and head back to the blue planet, follow up on that rat tail to see if it gives him the pink tail for immediate go mode, as well as the package. Maybe even those in the reverse order, package first, followed by the rat tail, in case the rat tail is a chain itself.
Yeah. I will note that jeebus here is going to gain also a couple minutes by doing this Wyvern fight. It seems like he lost a little bit of time because he did reset out to save scum that package. Did cost him a little bit of time by doing so, but he's going to get an extra 100,000 XP from this Wyvern on his key characters, and that will likely reduce the need for any kind of grind going forward.
Yeah, just looking kind of at the HP levels here of his Cecil and his Yang, those are pretty healthy levels already, so definitely with the extra XP he gets here, he'll probably be feeling pretty comfortable. They did see access to Cure 3s in case they wanted to, say, have Sid be on Chemist duty for that fight, as Tella probably won't be able to likely survive some of those attacks and be doing the healing himself. But Yang and Cecil will do tons of damage with with levels and the gear they have at this point.
Yeah, the real tale of the party setup this seed is the lack of a white mage. Wherever they are, I mean, that Fu is kind of one, but the no Porum nor Rosa anywhere in sight.
All right, and Kohrek here finishing off the Legend Sword. Still 1 boss check ahead here of jeebus, but you're noting that experience difference, though, from the extra stuff jeebus got, could end up meaning he still is closer to the end. Yep, Kohrek is going ahead and driving the Lunar Whale, so it looks like cave value is on his plan, or maybe just save here and then head down.
Yeah, fully committing to not leaving this moon until he is guaranteed not to fly back to it, which I appreciate. Like, we did see that the resetting out of the package cost jeebus some time. If this rat tail gives pink tail, Kohrek doesn't even have to peep the package character. We did see also that I mean, it may not happen here, but because of the resets. But if you don't reset, you chase a chain and you end up having to fly back. That cutscene takes a bit of time.
Yeah, exactly. Flying back and forth to the moon can definitely add up, which is one of the reasons even say getting an early darkness crystal, you might not go check that character if you don't really need them to make your party stronger. Just, especially again, at this point, these are 2 very, very strong runners, and so every minute for them matters, and so they're just finding every place they can to cut these corners.
Oh, yeah. And it's been such a great race. So neck and neck, back and forth, a minute apart underground, 15 seconds apart, going to the moon. Slightly different routing, paying off in slightly different ways. Kohrek has the check advantage. I dare say jeebus has the, let's compare this Cecil HP. jeebus has the XP advantage. So it's ridiculously close. And it's also cool to see how their slightly different party setups here are doing it as well. jeebus letting Palom do the anchor and going heavy on the Zerk. Kohrek letting Sid kind of be that slow-moving character to let some black magic actually play a role in his fights. So really cool seeing the different strategies at play as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, they're both working because, as you're noting, our runners are pretty much neck and neck here. Very, very small differences here at this point, and so easily could end up paying off for either of the runners. So Mom Bomb here is actually a fight with 2 phases. We'll see the first phase here, where you're attempting to do damage to get through the Mom Bomb, will turn into the big rotten tomato form. And you look at about another 9,000 HP before it explodes. With this party, there's a good chance we can get through that and we don't have to see the second form, which is all the little bombs.
And chat asking, Jeebus actually fight Mom Bomb, just speak it right. And I don't blame him for that at all. With the levels he had before diving the moon, this Mom Bomb fight would have been fairly obnoxious. A lot easier now for Kohrek, having the levels and that Excalibur from the altars in the subterrane.
I think the Excal is really going to be a big damage difference to just get through the fight much faster, as well as really be able to avoid that second phase. And the levels adding up in Yang, so he's also dishing out good damage.
Now, we did see Jeebus ditch the moon to peek for a character at that package. I'm wondering if he's going to do the same with this Rat Tail. That Mom Bomb fight, even though his team can handle it now, is still kind of I think that's the technical term, is
Definitely. The package is interesting because you know it's not going to be a chain. It's either going to give you your character you need or not, and you just reset. The Rat Tail is a little concerning because if it's a chain, what do? Do you keep following it or not? And with that kind of fact, it might be the chain, might want to keep him on the moon and just finish this off. Although we do see it's the tower key, which is interesting because it will push us likely towards the tower, which is 2 more key item checks.
And Jeebus not even dropping a safety save, saying, you know what? I don't think so. I will call that Mom Bomb is not the solution.
All right. So both runners here heading back to, well, pretty much again in sync there on the returning to the blue planet. Probably will both follow up on the Rat Tail check first, but Kohrek does now have the full tower in front of him, where Jeebus would only have keyless tower if he'd like to check that if the Rat Tail itself doesn't lead to anything else more interesting.
Yeah. I will note that Jeebus did have the proper airship for the job right next to Mist. And we do see Kohrek taking a peek at this character, so we will see probably a quick reset here. A sad reset, but a reset nonetheless.
Oh, he's thinking about it. All right.
How much do you want a big old honkin' white mage?
I do like white mages, and Boo is a really nice white mage. It doesn't matter really when you pick him up at this point. Unfortunately, just a lightsaber here from the Rat Tail. Because you beat so many bosses, he'll have a big enough HP pool to be useful in that Ceremous fight.
Yeah, this is dedication, and this may make the big difference this seed. If the tower key doesn't have the goods, Jeebus' willingness to go without a foo is going to put him a little bit ahead here on checks.
So Jeebus does look like he is interested in the keyless tower, which will give him 1 key item check. He could also be interested after this if it doesn't lead to any progression. Go ahead and take on that D-Miss. He does have the levels now. That fight is definitely a lot more doable than it was the first time we saw it, and leads to 2 key item checks, both the one immediately for finishing the fight and then heading back to Mist to check with Rudia's mother.
Yep. And Jeebus making the play up here. We did see Wyvern on the moon. We've seen D-Lunars on the Lunar altar. We've not seen Ogopogo. I don't believe we've seen Plague or Pale Dim yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't recall running into any of those. I think they are still all available at this point in time.
But knowing Wyvern's out of the pool makes me feel a lot friskier with this fight, especially with that X-Cal Cecil. Carving this spot up for like 3,000 a pop, I'm okay with it.
Chat asking, Ogopogo was Harp. Was that Leviathan?
That was Leviathan, yeah.
All right. The other Note Rope is still available in this seed then, and so we'll have to see if they're hanging out here at the top of the tower. And finding an antline here at Kaipo Inn. I think Kohrek will be able to get through this fight.
Oh, yeah. It'll be 1 hit, 1 spell, 1 whatever. This bug is squashed.
Yeah, this is a very early boss location, so not much HP at all to get through to finish this fight. I'm very confident we haven't seen Pale Dim up to this point.
Yeah, and we do see Pale Dim here, but notably, Palom has advanced in agility to the point where Tella is no longer getting the first action in these fights. Interesting.
Yes, so that does mean Jeebus attempting to use Palom here as agility anchor has been working great up to this point. At the very least, he doesn't have relative agility 1 on Tella anymore, which maybe will be a concern because I don't think we've seen Bacchus wines yet, so his source of Berserk, which he'll definitely be interested in for this Romus fight, is coming from Tella.
And Asuka, thank you for the raid. Everyone coming over from Asuka's channel, you are in the midst of a great neck-and-neck race. We had within 1 minute of each other getting underground, within 1 minute of each other going moon, within 1 minute of each other coming back from moon with a big distinguishing factor. Kohrek took an extra fight in K value to get a tower key. Jeebus did not take that fight, but ended up with more XP because of how he routed the moon. And now Kohrek has dedicated time to picking up a foo from the package. Jeebus says, no thank you, I'll make do with what I've got.
Yeah, and
This is
so
the... Go ahead.
likely this will send Kohrek now into the tower as well and find that Baron key at the top, which is a very interesting find because, as you kind of know, Baron is one of those spots with a character check. We still have Edge at large somewhere in the seed, and kind of effectively gets you 2 key item checks too, the main Baron and the basement throne as well.
Yeah, and definitely faster ones than that Demus check. Now, the Demus check will be a little easier on Kohrek at this point, I would say. Fu will have that nuke spell and be able to dish out big damage instead. Because you can't rely on Zerkers in that fight so much, because if you do, you're going to be eating so many cold mists during the transformation phases.
Or while he's underground, making sure he goes ahead and lights up the objective 1. It also gives him a chance to go ahead and check the shop here, which can have some really, really high tier gear inside of it. And as he's done his grind and fights on the moon, he actually will have money to maybe buy one of those items. Or 2 protect rings if he was interested. Not interested in any of that though, so just move on.
Ooh, Jeebus with the 1 Siren left. This should get nuke on Palom. Is this Jeebus's way of saying, I am going to that Fey March before I go to Baron? I want the double item check.
Have to see here, so.
There's nuke.
There's nuke. Yep, he has made it, so. Yeah, that'd be really interesting to see if that's where he heads now at this point. As well as, yeah, I was going to say, and I imagine the curse ring will come off, because now you're interested in him being able to actually do some damage with that nuke. So Sid will take on the anchor duties.
Yeah, it still wants Stella to be able to Zerk and Blink reliably.
And Jeebus heads.
Huh. Oh.
The Forge, of course.
Oh, the Forge. Oh, yeah. Same thing with Kohrek. Same thing as Kohrek. Light it up. Don't miss out on it.
Yeah, definitely. It feels bad to get into the Z fight and realize you haven't actually done your Forge and don't have the crystal yet. So, good to just, while you're in the neighborhood, get it done. Definitely good routing here by Jeebus. He'll probably also be interested in also checking out that shop, but we'll probably just go ahead and skip by those items. Maybe buy apples to just blow his money if he's interested. And
I wonder also what kind of nerves our racers are feeling here. We are at past the hour 23 minute part. You know that an edge anywhere, any key item that gives a character can have put your opponent in go mode, can have put them either from the, any key item that gives a character, go mode. Any key item that gives a pink tail, go mode. Tons of options here. Now, I do like Palom here in slot 1. Nukes and Quakes will clean up these first 2 fights.
Yeah, definitely. Just get through those. I have to imagine the nerves are especially high due to the fact there is the chances for that divergence here. Jeebus knows he skipped gate value, so if there's value there, he's probably very worried. The fact that Demus is seeing at Fey March, if the other runner did check that, and you get 2 chances there of getting some payoff there, that could definitely make you feel like, how important was that? Am I behind because I haven't done that yet?
Yeah, and I will also point out that Kohrek's delaying that package check until after full clearing moon, because it was a foo and not an edge, gave him kind of an advantage here. You have a reliable white mage for your Zeromus fight in a way that Tella can't quite manage. So the question now, though, is will this character, because he doesn't have the sheer spell power ferocity of a Palom, how are these overworld fights going to go, the remaining ones, until we actually hit go mode?
Yeah, definitely. And finding another Lunar Sparkle, so we're running out of bosses here. Plague or the Ogo. Looks like this one's Plague. But you know what's good against Plague, at least at this spot?
Most things, but notably
Nuke. Nuke's just a nice spell. I like using it on majority of bosses when I get the chance.
Yeah, please do not put eyeballs in the microwave. The eyeballs will have a very bad time, as will your microwave.
And we see almost max damage coming up from Pelham there, near the quad 9, so definitely going to make short work of these bosses who have less than 10,000 HP.
Yeah, I will
Even
not
the
be surprised if
Odin's Spell.
Quake single hits even this Baigen.
That's true. Which, sure enough, we'll get the Quake here, as we do have multiple targets. Nuke, being a great spell, does only hit one person, and we have multiple arms here. Throw out that Quake spell.
Ah, not quite. 3,000 on the body.
Real close. Still, not a concern. Attack from any of these melee fighters will finish off the fight. Kohrek finding his Baron key here. He does have the tower key though, so he will check the super cannon room and on his way out of the tower, be awarded with another key item.
That's not an edge.
Ooh, that. Well, we were wondering where the white mages are. There's one, but the unfortunate part is jeebus has done his grinding, and so Rosa would not have any of that XP, and so access to Cure 1 is not going to be all the most useful for the Zeromus fight.
Character checks left frozen. We have 2 at the Earth Crystal. We have 1 in the Giant. That's it.
Yep. Again, Edge is not our only way to go mode, though. The Pink Tail would also give us our final 4th objective. You only have to do 4 out of the 5, and there are plenty of key items checks that are available to our runners. We see jeebus finishing off here, Baron here, and Kohrek will be getting the tower key check done shortly as well.
So jeebus's Baron reward is another X-Cal. Not what you want to see here. Really going to have to hope for something from the basement here. If Kohrek gets either of the 2 paths to go mode from this tower key, jeebus needs a little bit of bailing out in a big way.
Yeah. So very interesting would be if Kohrek finds the Earth Crystal, because he's going to want to follow up on that, because it's 2 characters. That's basically 2/3 chance there of containing his Edge. But there's a chance that Edge is just hiding out in the Giant.
Yeah. Well, Korek's not done Baron yet, so it'll be a 50-50 for him if he does get an Earth Crystal and chases it.
What would you say you value higher there? The Earth Crystal, because it does have the 2 characters, or the Baron?
Earth Crystal, 2 characters plus a chance for the Pink Tail, and your team is so strong it's going to mop up every boss anyway.
Is that mop a reference to Foo? All right. Yeah, definitely. I think that makes a lot of sense there. As we kind of know, at least with what we know, it's a 2/3 chance. Kohrek would see it as a 50% chance of finding his Edge. Those are pretty good odds to go modes. I'd see him following that up.
I just at this point, I hope that D-Mist has the Earth Crystal has the Pink Tail, force Leviathan fight, or D-Mist at Leviathan fight.
If it is that would be really interesting. Jeebus probably doesn't want to go back to the moon ever at this point, so he'll just continue to fade that Mom Bomb, which probably means he'd be led to that spot sooner than Kohrek would.
But the Pink Tail coming out of the tower key, that is go mode for Kohrek. Fading K value, not the play today. It was wise at the time. It was strategically sound, saying that fight is a pain. I have bad weaponry. Let me go do the rest of the moon. But it had the goods this time. Where is jeebus going to go? Can he equalize at this point?
So I would not be surprised to see him go Baymarch, take on that D-Mist, and just continue to fade the moon. There is the alternate way. This might pay off and give him a way to go mode. But Kohrek here are entering go mode, has pretty good levels, has that Foo, as you were saying, so he does have access to a good white mage, which means this fight should... I can say free. Zeromus is never free, but he's in good shape to take it. And awarded the Artemis bow, very strong bow. Again, as you said right at the start of the game, Sid, he makes actually a pretty decent archer. So if you find the best bow in the game, hey, that's a pretty good weapon for him.
And Kohrek here, very cozy with the levels. Full clearing the moon will kind of get you to that point, huh?
Yeah, as you were saying, it's great if you have the 10 key items. You are definitely going to be at healthy levels with a full clear moon if you did it all with 10 key items, but even without, still feeling very comfortable here and heading straight on into Zeromus here. Well, jeebus will go ahead and check the D-Mist and see if that does provide us an alternate way to go mode.
And Insult asking in the chat, D-Mist going to give Earth, Luca, or both? That is correct. Every key item in a seed must be available. We have seen Tower Key and Pinktail, Earth Key and Luca are either both here or one leading into the other.
All right. I do see some icons coming up in chat here.
Yeah. So we randomize all the loot, all the bosses, all the character locations. We don't randomize Aromas. That'd be so much trouble. He's so big, he just doesn't fit in most places. So instead we randomize the sprite. Over 500 blah 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 sprites in the pool at this point. So there's an important question we like to ask before we go into this battle. Will you do the honors, Clipper?
Gladly. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight? All right, so here we will go ahead and get the crystal, which will reveal our form, and see who Kohrek is taking on.
Yep. And no Bacchus wins the seed, so queuing up that burst instantly on the biggest hitter here, Cecil with the Excal.
Does have access to 2 sources of Berserk here. Nice. Maybe that was part of his reason for taking the Fu over Pelham. Tella can still both be an anchor and hopefully connect with some Berserks. Huh. That's good advice. Not in this seed, but sometimes is good advice.
So that's PK down there in the desert, warning you all to stay away. Stay away from the cave. You know, lots of folks, they win sprites and they ask for some, really cool, Scala Kitty original designs. PK's like, heck it, meme me up.
This should only show up in seeds where Antline is required. Just to be like, oh, maybe I should have followed that or not. You see Jeebus here continue to go through his D-miss here. We are seeing the misforms, so that's what we're kind of noting why you can't get through this fight quickly, even with, say, Excal Cecil.
Yeah, 35,000 HP, a holy resistant, so your Excals and your Crystal Swords don't do nearly enough damage that you'd like.
Chat's asking on Antline what it led to. That was our pan, which then led us to pass, Adamant,
and an Earth Hammer.
and an Earth Hammer. All right.
Well, what did the fairies have themselves? Do you remember?
Was that the pass? Or did we get the pass later? I forget. Adamant. It was important. The pan eventually led to Adamant, so it was good. Ooh.
Just a Dragon Whip.
But hey, this is bonus round. The D-miss has a second item for us, so we'll follow up on it.
And Kohrek here, using fairly general Zerker strats, got the team going burr, has a Fu to throw some Cure 4s. Which that split Cure 4 not doing a whole lot here, but enough to get the team topped off. Neither this Sid nor this Yang can die to even the fullest of powered Big Bangs, so there's even safety there just in case things go awry later in the fight.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Cure 4 straight cast onto Sid. Doesn't matter what your magic power is there, you'll get healed up to near full. And
is this
we'll have to see some progression here with Jeebus?
Or Luca Key? Okay.
Good odds here on leading to his Sid.
Yeah.
Or sorry, his Edge.
Yeah. And we know it will give the Luca Key as well. Jeebus doesn't know that yet. We know exactly what's behind there.
Yeah. Now, if you don't get Edge here, do you do Giant or you follow that Luca?
Oh.
Let's just hope Edge is here. Or just keep it a stake. Hopefully there's an Edge here.
I think that if there's not an Edge here, you probably just put your controller down and say GG. I'd be like, oh.
That's fair.
Because you'll, at this point, have checked every character spot in the game, except for the giant one. And at that point, it's just, what can you even say?
So downside there to the Mop, while he does have access to all these spells, not the largest MP pool, but Kohrek did have access to Ether, so filling up his MP during one of the slow periods here. Just to make sure he can keep throwing out those Cure 4s as he needs to.
But actually, he's straight targeting a slow here, intending to make sure the next Big Bang is nerfed. Depending on who this nuke lands on, can severely reduce his damage output.
And it does, sure enough, right onto his Excal wielding Cecil, who's doing a ton of damage, so he's going to both have to get picked up and then repositioned. which will have to be done through Fu because no access to Bacchus.
And both Quino Tatiquan and Valorial Talonheart asking in chat, who's this? What is this Z Sprite? Well, in this community, when you win tournaments, or if you are an exceptional volunteer, you can win custom-made Z Sprites by Skolakitty. This was PK4787's request. One of his big memes is to always skip Antlion Cave. Why would you do that place? And thus, he had that part of his identity immortalized in the Z Sprite pool.
We were noting there were some rude bosses left. The Valis here showing up on Sot. At least that luckily wasn't found in one of the moon spots. And so jeebus making quick work here. And we're about to see our two characters. So hopefully that edge is hanging out in this Tower Zot.
That's not him.
Oh, check one. There's two characters here.
Check one, check two. Check one, check two. I swear, if the only copy of Edge's seat is in the Giant,
Oh, we could have gone there so early too. We've had this darkness since we went to Fey March.
I think someone's going to end up toilet papering our restreamers home.
Ooh.
GPS, I think Jeebus is going to hunt you down.
That is unfortunate. So we do know where Edge is hanging out, and it does appear like he's in the Giant and the seed. So.
You're going to have a very rough Halloween restreamer.
It's one of those spots you really just don't want to go to. It's very hard boss spot at the elements. CPU, not quite as mean, but can still be rough depending on who you run into, just to find out who that character is. So until you know it's the character you want, you're really not likely to commit to that time.
And with that last X-Cal swing, as Jeebus got his bad news, Kohrek takes the win, had the one-game advantage due to being a higher seed, will be moving on to the round of 16. GG's out in chat for Kohrek, taking the dub today. The dedication to believing Moon was vaunted paid off in spades this time. We'll see if we can get him in here for an interview shortly. Meanwhile, I'm curious if Jeebus is going to go chase that Mom Bomb, or if we are going to see a Giant clear this seed. Hey, Kohrek,
Hey.
GG's.
Thank you.
So, well, the news for you is the only edge on the seed is in the Giant. we have ascertained that.
Yeah, I mean that's really rough. And I mean, I started with like a middle sword and a long sword, and then there was a ninja sword, and then a Murasame, and yeah, he's just never gonna get to wield them, I guess.
But the main thing, there was a whole lot of neck and neck. There was a little bit of divergence in the mid game. Both of you went to the moon at the same time. Do you mind walking us through how you chose to tackle that moon and why you chose to approach it in the order and the completion that you went with?
Yeah, I think for the most part, every time I do top-down moon, it just blows up in my face. I feel like so. And also with getting the fresh Cecil there, I figured, okay, I have 1 hourglass. I can just get a quick 90,000 XP on him and just go right down to the bottom. Should be good. Of course, Wyvern is there. A fight you can handle, but it took a nice maybe 5-6 minutes. But then everything was a little bit smoother after that. Once we got that X-Cal off of Karate at White Spear, that was, that's where the moon really sped up. But yeah, so I was a little bit nervous after the ribbon altar took so long and there was nothing there. But I come up, I see Mom Bomb. I was almost ready to leave the moon, honestly, after after the lunar subterrane. I felt like I got a lot of value. I got character checks, item checks. We could be in go mode. Do I really even want to go over there? And then I did, and I'm like, oh, it's Mom Bomb. Do I really want to do that? And then I did, and it turned out to work out.
Yeah, definitely. I guess once you did find out that Mom Bomb had worked, you the tower key, that put tower very high up there on your objective. Were you thinking, maybe this is a check Jeebus hasn't done, so it's much more valuable to follow up on that? Because there were still potentially a lot of other places to go. We still knew D-Miss was kind of looming large there as two potential key items.
Yeah, when I went to the tower, I had both checks in the tower or D-Mist, and man, you guys know D-Mist at that location is just
not so appealing.
Yeah, I don't think there was any point in the seed where I'm like, that's where I want to go next. So yeah, I think the tower before that was good because I did get to follow an item from the moon versus something I left behind. It was one of each, right? But it still felt better to chase one of the items I found. So that's what I did first. But glad it worked out.
Yeah.
How about that Foo find? When you did see him there waiting, were you considering the reset, or do you just know, no, I want this Foo? I guess what motivated you to go ahead and go through that to get him?
Well, I mean, I activate the cutscene. I have my finger hovering over the reset button, and I'm like, okay, if this is an edge, we reset, we go, and then I see the Foo there, and I'm just like, I'm not resetting right away, and I'm just staring, and I can't think of a good reason to reset. I mean, look, healing Zeromus with only a Tella and maybe a Sid throwing Cure 3s or something. Like, you can do that for sure, but it's a pain in the butt. And it's very dangerous, right? Like, one thing goes wrong, you wipe, and then you just lost 5 minutes. So, which is more than the package takes. So I figured, you know what? This makes my Z fight very safe and secure, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. I like that. That's a really good insight there. There's how long does package take, and what does one wipe take? Because you're right, without that wipe mage, Z's never free. So you like having that kind of safety there that the Cure 4 gives you.
Well, Kohrek, I want to say that I don't know if you're the kind of racer who likes to watch your races back, but you really should watch this one back. It was so close, so neck and neck through the entire seed, and just that minor deviation at the end was all the payoff, but just super exciting to watch. It was pleasure being in the booth, and we're going to give you the last thoughts on your race right now before we start to close up shop. So any remaining thoughts on that race that you want to shout out here, Kohrek?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to give a shout out to Jeebus. I have so much respect for him. He was hanging out in my stream a lot when I started this game last year, and we had a lot of chats and everything. And man, it never feels great. Like, it's always a little bit bittersweet to knock out somebody that you respect and you want to see them do well. So just nothing but respect to Jeebus, and I know he's going to get through one of these tournaments and come up on top at some point. Just not this one, but always watch out for him in the next event. So. And I just want to say thank you to the Restream team for putting it on. And yeah, it's been fun. Top 16 ahead. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, GG's to Kohrek. And we did get the forfeit from Jeebus that seed, not wanting to go pursue those rude rabbit holes any further. So we are going to be sending all over to Randomania 3. There is a race that is about 13 minutes in there. It's the freshest one we've got between Aizen Tayama and Apex Corvid. So no spoilers on this one. Enjoy the next race. Tons more all this week. And Klopfer, close it out for us, my friend.
Sure thing. Just a big thanks to everyone before we close out here. Our entire Restream team here, Gundam Pilot Spaz, and our trucker there, Escorian. Big thanks to Venerable for doing comms with me here. It was a lot of fun. And the entire kind of admin team behind. And Lali-Ho to everyone in the free enterprise community. Join us for our next seeds and enjoy this next one. Thanks for tuning in.